Hey guys, welcome back to our review of Avatar: The Way of the Water. This is our spoiler discussion, so if you guys haven't seen our first review, make sure you check that out first. Non-spoiler. Otherwise, if you guys want to get into the deets, then this is the video for you. I guess, do you want to start with something right away, Dill, or what?
There's a character in this movie that has, for me, confusing motivation throughout most of the movie, and that is Spider. I kind of understand the character and like why they had him and why he was in it, but at the same time, his motivation is so like. Sometimes it seems like he's really like die hard for the Na'vi, and then there are times where it just kind of seems like he doesn't really care that much, and he's just kind of rolling with it, whoever he's with.
Well, I would say
and
to argue
hostage.
Yeah, sure, but I would argue with that is because like they accept him or whatever, like the Na'vi family or whatever, like Jake Sully's family, except for the mom. The mom's like he belongs with his own kind type of thing, and so I bet he obviously. He's dealing with emotions like he knows he doesn't belong, but he just doesn't want to admit it type of thing. And then also like with his like dad, you learn that his dad is the colonel from the first movie or whatever. And so like he's having confliction. He's like, well, he's my dad. I should like be with him and like care. But he's like a dickhead and he didn't like raise me or nothing. He left me here because I couldn't go back to Earth because I couldn't go into cryo sleep as a kid or whatever. But I don't know. I didn't have a problem with him because he could be able to. I had a problem with like I just didn't get the idea like, oh, they just cloned the Colonel. Oh, he's just a clone. Now he's just an avatar. Like
yeah, apparently they planned that.
Yeah,
in the
like
first movie.
Well, yeah, I don't ever remember them doing that at all.
No, I'm not saying that they did do that. I'm saying that's what they made it look like.
Yeah, that they made that tape to make it look like he like was
They planned to put.
They definitely stretched that plot point because that was definitely never mentioned in the first one. And I think that's the one jump from movie 1 to 2, especially if you end up watching like all the whole saga once 3 and 4 and 5 come out. Is everyone's gonna be like, yeah, that was a little bit of a stretch. They said they just like cloned him like. Like they like brain dumped his existence onto like a microchip.
Yeah, and that was never anything that they ever
mentioned before. So that is probably the one thing that my biggest gripe about the movie's plot, anyways.
Also, there was some other conflicting stuff, where like the human side of things themselves, they were talking about it in one point where they were talking about colonizing or like making this planet the new Earth because Earth is not thriving anymore and this and that. So they talk about that for one moment in one scene, and then it seems like the rest of the movie has nothing to do with any of that. It's all about getting revenge on Jake Sully, and all of these people are just mindlessly following the Colonel in his revenge quest, and that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, there's no money involved in that. Like So like getting to the whole money thing, and like they're spending all this money to like they're trying to colonize a new Earth, which makes the most sense. But it's like the whole place is funding him to take down Jake Sully.
They're funding his personal.
So that way, I guess they think the government or whatever thinks that if they silence the leader of the Na'vi, that they'll be more like submissive and like give in to their like willpower or whatever. I guess, but like no, like one of the instances, and like our friend Jared made a really good point about this, but like there's a scene in the movie where they go hunting and they kill this like I don't really know the name of it, but like a whale essentially.
Yeah, it was like
and they like drain its like brain like essence like out of it or whatever, and like it's able to like make humans never age or whatever. And they're like, yeah, we sell these canisters, and they're like, oh, probably this big, they're not huge. If you've seen Ninja Turtles Secret of the Ooze, they're about that size,
size of one of those canisters.
But they said they sell them for like $80 million a pop, and we're like, our friend Jeremy made a good point. He's like, dude, by the time they spend all the money to go hunting for that and like use these explosive harpoons and all this technology, it's like only $80 million. Like they're probably blowing through that like crazy.
And
like
they only get one tube out of one of those ginormous.
Out of those ginormous whales. It's like, okay, sure, you hunt down 100 of them, but that's still only $800 million. That's like they've had to be spending trillions for like space technology to even travel to that world. Like I don't know. I guess I don't really get that portion of it. Maybe they aren't dead, kind of like we are, and they're just like, this is just a way they can recoup and keep the economy going is based off of this thing or whatever. I don't know, but that's just like one thing he mentioned that I kind of like agree with in that point. You know, but other than that, like I didn't mind the rest of the characters as far as like the new water people and all that, or the water avatars and tribe or whatever. I didn't mind that. They took their time setting up those characters. I really felt those characters, especially like their sister spirit of like the main lady's the leader's wife tribe. Her one died from when they harvested the fucking goo out of it or whatever. Like that was a touching moment where she was like, you know, just distraught about it.
That was her spirit animal.
Yeah, basically her sister spirit or whatever she called it. Like I get that, and I felt like when the now we're getting to the spoiler territory, but when when Jake's Sully kid died, like that was a touching moment. Like they definitely were foreshadowing a lot. You know, they showed him like killing the fish and stuff like that, and him having a touching moment with like that at the beginning. So they were obviously foreshadowing it. I knew something was going to happen, so that was kind of
that's kind of a movie trope too. Like the older, more responsible brother is the one that always takes the fall.
And then the young kid has to live with it.
Yeah, the image from it.
Yeah, that was another thing is like they were talking about, but like the kids get into a lot of trouble. I guess the lesson then is like this kid like is never gonna learn his lesson. Like the youngest boy of Jake Sully's like family is never gonna learn his lessons until something bad like that happens. And so like he keeps constantly getting them in trouble and doing things, and you know, and kids will just be kids type of thing. But I guess they really needed the point and pin home that to get so when the older kid died, it's because this younger kid keeps saying they doing these ideas and they're not good.
They keep using kids making poor decisions as plot driving. Yeah, plot driving devices. Which, you know, it's been done. It's been done over and over again.
Yep.
And it gets a little old, especially in this movie. It happens several times.
Yep.
And you're just kind of like scratching your head, like, okay, what's?
Yep.
Like literally the one scene, they're like, Jake tells his boys, all right, we barely got accepted in here.
Yep.
Let's be on our best behavior. Shouldn't be hard to do.
Yep.
And lo and behold, what do you think they do? I mean, it's so unbelievably predictable.
Yep.
That it's like, God, you just kind of like you find yourself watching it and just kind of being a little just angry that you're watching this. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Man.
Well,
like,
then you make a good point. Like we're just saying, like James Cameron has a fuss about like Marvel movies and like things like that. It's like, well, Marvel movies, like they're no different than his movies. They use the same story tropes, but it's the way it's presented with the characters and stuff like that is, you know, is what makes it different and feel different or whatever. And he acts like his movies are just like so far above these Marvel movies, and they're no different. If anything, this is just another superhero franchise.
Oh, definitely.
Just in his own mind, and it's like, except the avatars are the super people. It's like
the only thing that sets it apart is. And not even necessarily that entirely. I mean, I was going to say the visual effects, which doesn't set it apart really, but it's the level of visual effects is equal to Marvel and these big ones. I'd say like
back in 2009, that was a big leap.
Yeah,
but
huge.
This day and age, it's like going from PS4 to PS5. You don't notice that big of a difference.
Yep.
It's just like little particle effects that are the main difference. You know, obviously, normal consumers and like people like us, like there was probably a lot more that happened behind the scenes as far as the motion capture go. But
I heard they did something crazy with the water capture.
Well, yeah, and stuff like that. Like, you know, to us consumers, like we just don't see any of that. So like that's not what we're focusing on. You know, if it was something like crazy groundbreaking, any normal person would have noticed it, and I didn't. It just it felt don't get me wrong, the stuff looked good, but
Great.
Him saying being miles ahead, a part of Thanos, as far as special effects is like bullshit. Like
that's blasphemy.
Thanos still looks great.
Yeah.
We literally watch Endgame and Infinity War multiple times a year. Like it literally looks no different. And so, like, in that regard, you know, I think the movie probably gets a bigger rep because with it being in bright, Marvel has a lot of darker scenes, things like that. They kind of like focus on making these effects kind of around darker scenes to help blend it into the environment.
People really talk about Marvel having kind of a gray and red kind of like color grading to their. They have this color grade that they use in a lot of their films that make them all kind of look the same.
Yeah.
And they're not super bright and vibrant, which is why things like Guardians of the Galaxy stand out so much.
Yep.
Because it's stuff that's way
easier to do effects. So like that's why this movie looks up so good, because it's big, bright, vibrant. Like it's not trying to hide its visual effects. Its visual effects is front and center. And so that, I mean, in that regard, you gotta give them credit for being really here's our movie, here's our special effects, like they're that good, like we're gonna show them off, like in that regard. But I mean, when you get into the breaking down of the characters, don't get me wrong, the movie's still great. You should still see it. It still has a good enough story to take you along and do all that, but these are like minor things, I guess you could say. At least for me, they are. It didn't ruin the experience, but it is like after you get done with the movie and you really think about it, you're like, I didn't really care for this. You start getting kind of nitpicky afterwards.
Well, one thing and this is a big spoiler, I don't know how much I love the move that they made to have Spider drag his father out and let him live. I just feel like that character had really run its course. I was shocked because I hadn't noticed it, and maybe they showed it in the trailers, but from the trailers that I had actually watched, I don't think I ever saw anything that showed that he was going to be a focal point in this or in it at all.
They also none of the trailers showed that the Colonel was even back.
Yeah,
so that's why I was so shocked. I was like, wait a minute, is that Stephen Lang from the first one? And then like it was, so like.
But I feel like by the end of this movie, I got what I wanted out of it. It really ran its course. You got the final showdown between him and Sully. They finally it got resolved, and then they're just like, nah, we're gonna yoink him right back out and put him in another movie.
Yep. I mean, to be fair, like, I do find the Colonel's character a lot more interesting.
It is a fun character to follow.
As a Avatar. Like, I thought I didn't like him in the first movie because to me he came off as your generic villain, as a military guy. What I can name like probably 2 movies that are also just like it. For example, let's think of Samuel L. Jackson and fucking King Kong. Skull Island. Like he's the same way. Oh, he's just a big beast. We can take him down.
It's all about the mission.
Yeah, like there's tons of movies that use that same trope, and that's what he get. That's why the first movie, to me, like when I think back to it kind of falls flat. I'm gonna have to rewatch again, but that just from recent memory, like that just how it feels. But I don't want to stick on this character stuff too much. I want to focus on Spider again and Kiri
it's the whole movie. I thought they were saying Kitty.
I thought so too, but I think it's Kiri. It's
Kiri.
Kiri. It sounded like Kitty, but yeah, they're saying Kiri, I'm pretty sure.
Yep.
But anyways, like they made it apparent that her mom is Sigourney Weaver, and to be fair, like there's so much with that. Because Sigourney Weaver also voices Kiri and like is the facial and like person, everything. So like as I was watching, I'm like, this is just the same bitch. Like they got her doing it again. Like are they just doing this for like budget reasons? Or are they trying to make it really act like she's her daughter? Like they could have used a different person, called her a daughter, and we would have believed it still.
Yep.
But there's multiple ways. I hope it's for a bigger reason. I hope it's the reason I'm about to present here. Either her like soul, when they were transferring from the first movie, her soul or her spirit or whatever to the Avatar, instead of going to the actual Avatar, it went into like the kid or the baby or whatever, like the pregnant,
like a reincarnation
of her, and that's actually her, because she does mention that she can feel her heartbeat. To Sully, her and have a touching moment in about 75% way through the film. She talks about she can feel her heartbeat, like her mom's heartbeat, like it's right there. So like part of me makes it feel like it is her character, and that's why they have her voice it and do the facial structure.
Well, yeah, I think she's really, really in tune with the overall world spirit. I forget what it's called.
Well, I think you're right. It's like world spirit, something like that. But hopefully it means that it is like a reincarnation and actually is her, and that would make more sense why they reuse Sigourney Weaver and stuff like that again. And then they also make it apparent that she doesn't know her father either. They don't know who the father is of the kid, but they also make it apparent that Spider doesn't know who his mother is. So I kind of made the connection. I'm like, well, what if it's like the corporal and like Sigourney Weaver's character, they had a kid together? Like, I don't know, like they just kind of, because they also, Spider and Kiri had a weird connection. You couldn't tell if it was like a love connection or if it was like a family connection thing. Like they kind of leaned it towards more of a romantic side, but they didn't really force it that way. You could kind of get those vibes. I'm like I'm saying, it could be like a Princess Leia, Luke Skywalker thing where they're like brother sister, but they don't understand. They have feelings for each other, but they don't know what kind of feelings that is, whether it's family or if it's,
there's different kinds of love,
So anyway, so I just thought that I saw that connection. I wanted to make sure we put that in the spoiler thing, but I just noticed that's the one thing that I really took from the movie and noticed between those two characters.
I am looking forward to see what they're gonna do with Kiri going forward.
Yep.
I also am kind of curious to see how Spider fits in the future because of the fact that he was a little he was they mentioned in the movie he's inseparable with the children.
Yep.
But also the mother does not care for him necessarily so much.
He should be
not that she doesn't like him.
Yep.
It's just that she's just got this feeling about him, and then she attempts to use him as bait, which you could see it in her eyes. Granted, she was in full rage after the realization of losing her firstborn son, and just this senseless fighting for whatever reason, and she was in a blinding rage. But it almost kind of felt like the camera, the way that the cinematography works in that moment, they shoot it in a way where you kind of get just a moment to see her eyes and you see her face, and it kind of feels like she's like, I want to do it.
Yeah.
There's a moment where I really felt like she really wanted to do it. She even says the line, son for a son.
Yeah, son for a son. Yeah,
and I thought, I was like, she wants to do it.
Yeah.
She really wants to.
Yeah, she's like, he's no blood relation to me. Like, I just worry about my people. She focuses on telling her people, her forest people, all this. I will mention too, and like, I know you were saying like you didn't like the dynamic with Spider, but they were setting up throughout the whole movie, like when the Corporal, Stephen Lang's character, sees where he died originally in the like Minotaur like mech suit or whatever, and he rewatches the video, that you can see Spider like kind of looking behind the tree, like being like watching the footage of it and like seeing how savage she was, and like I know like he looks at his dad like, oh my god, he's just a crazy killing animal, like he's just trying to kill everything, and then he's looking at it, he's looking at it and seeing it like they're no different in that regard, and then he really sees it. So I feel like he's gonna become the villain because he's gonna see like his ways and start to agree with his dad, and his dad's gonna push his focus towards him and things like that, his views and stuff like that. And then Kiri's gonna obviously be the opposite, and those two are gonna butt heads, and something's gonna happen there in the final thing.
That would be
and family, and they're the dynamic, and they'll be against each other.
That could be.
Like the story is already built right there. Like it's ready to go.
It's potential for sure.
Like, and here's the thing, like they always tell you, like when you're writing stuff, like don't go for the first thing that comes to your head, but that makes sense, and like just don't change something just to change it because you think people are gonna predict it. Like you can still lead to that conclusion, but maybe make it lead to that conclusion in a different way. Maybe the way we think it's gonna go down, it's gonna go down slightly different, but it's still gonna go down to that same path, and things like that. And I've been really getting into the theme and paying attention to stuff more now that we've gotten into writing our own like stuff and filming stuff, that it helps a lot with like breaking down our own stories and using different themes and tropes and things like that to kind of get our point across of stuff. So, but
you really have to beat home if you're trying to get some sort of theme or idea across, you got to beat it home constantly. You got to constantly just
family. If
like, that's what you're going for, that's what you're going for. There's no, because there are a lot of movies that lose tone, that lose the proper tone and like what kind of vibe they're going for,
aka the Star Wars sequel trilogy.
Exactly.
Terrible, lost in
one
tone.
Weird little nitpick for me, a couple of things that kind of like I don't know, it made me kind of laugh where I didn't feel like I should. With Spider's character, there were a couple times like, so he is a human. He was raised around the Na'vi, but he still grew up with
humans,
these scientists, and these regular people.
Yeah.
And so like there are moments where he acts like an absolute savage, and he's doing all this.
Yeah.
Like he's I'm like, and then all of a sudden he's totally normal. He's talking to his dad. He's like, what up, bro?
What up, bro?
Yeah, I'm like, what the hell is that?
Yeah, I know.
Like, and
like
then
that's how they talk together.
He says something that makes him mad. And he goes,
yeah, I know. I agree with that. That seems kind of dumb.
Yeah,
like,
that was real cheap.
That just seems like a bad. I don't know. It comes off as like a hypocrite, kind of like in a sense, like oh yeah, you want to be human, but you want to act like this too. It's kind of like
pick a side. Man.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like someone It's like someone trying to
who takes
I don't know.
He's one of those people that just like accepts everybody else's personality traits
yep.
as his own.
Yep.
You know, like
to just blend in. Like
he's just a sponge that
yeah,
takes everybody's personality traits.
I don't know. So yeah, I agree. That was kind of weird.
Yeah, that would throw me out every time he'd do that. And I'm like,
yeah,
why?
Yeah, he did
why
it.
Are we doing this?
And he did it like. And the problem is
quite
like
often.
we can name. Yeah, we can name. It might even it might only be like 3 or 4 times throughout the movie, but I remember every 3 or 4th time.
Well,
like you do not forget when he does that because
I'm pretty
it's
sure
so.
There's a point where one of the first times he gets captured, he's wearing his mask and everything, and this and that.
Yeah.
And they'll say something and he'll be like, "Don't touch her," like a regular person. And then the very next time they do something, he goes,
"Yeah, I know."
I'm like, okay, why are we going back and forth like this?
Yeah, I know, like flip flopping. Yeah, I don't know. He like forgets who he tries to be with, so then he does it, and maybe that's the point. Maybe I don't know.
Yeah,
but
maybe there's a deeper meaning.
That's what I'm saying. We got 3 movies. He's got 3 movies to figure this shit out. And here's the thing: he's got plenty of time. He had 10 years to more than 10 years to fucking write this shit properly. So I'm putting it in. Obviously, I'm putting it in his hands, even though it was already in his hands anyways. But I'm putting it there now. For him to hopefully solve a lot of these plot points. Maybe not in the next movie, but maybe in the 4th or 5th movie he kind of gets back to it. But I don't know. I guess we'll see.
You have a final verdict? What are we doing?
I mean, we can still do it. I mean, I don't know if we have like a number to go. You definitely should go see it in theaters. It's definitely worth the time there. I was really dreading trying to go into a 3-hour and 25-minute movie or 15-minute movie, but it's definitely worth your time. You should definitely see it, support it. It's still a good movie. There's a lot of hot trash that goes out there, so it's a good movie. It's an original movie, and we got to provide as much love to stuff like that as possible.
Yep.
And so yeah, definitely go see it. It's definitely worth your time.
Yeah, I mean, if you're ready to you got to get yourself mentally prepared for a 3-hour ordeal.
Yeah.
But if you go into it with the right mindset and the right attitude, it's a really beautiful movie to look at.
Yeah.
Even if you don't love the story or what necessarily is happening, just look at everything.
The action scenes are great looking. The train part, that was really cool. The train part,
everything that you normally wouldn't look at in a film, look at that. Look at people's eyes. Look at the way water falls off of them.
How the wrinkles on their face when they smile.
Literally everything.
The finger detail.
It's insane.
Yeah, there's a lot of detail into that way, and they definitely need to nail that because in this movie, and I can see why he delayed it as long as he did because he knew that these next movies are gonna only be the CGI characters.
Yeah.
And so they need to make them look their best so you can feel for the character.
Once they get into the water portion of it too.
Yeah.
The movie, visually anyway, really takes off at that point.
Yeah.
Because you've seen the first section of the movie where they're in, at their regular home, you feel like you've seen this movie before. But then they get to the water area and the scenery is just absolutely, you feel like you're there.
Yep.
Especially seeing it in theaters, it's gorgeous. You absolutely just. It's a sight to behold for sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, all in all, for me, not my favorite movie. Obviously, I'm still a big Marvel guy, and I still think Infinity War Endgame as a grouping is still just perfect. This movie, though, I mean, it does it for me in some points, doesn't for others. Story's a little lacking for me overall. But visually, it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And it's all in all worth going to see it in theaters because it is it's really cool to see in theaters for sure.
But yeah, thank you guys so much. Let me know about your opinions or what do you think of the movie. Should you see it? Is it trash? Is it cap? Is it fucking hooba? Whatever. Check it out. Leave a comment in the section below. And yeah, guys, we will see you in another video. So, peace. Thank you guys. Little buddy's birthday.
Yeah, it's all over now.